welcome to the Highgate Selectboard meeting Thursday, May 17th, 2018. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments that do not pertain to anything on the agenda? Sue?
Yes, I want to thank Josh and Pat for taking care of that the other day for me. With it being roped off, people are staying off of the property, and I want to thank them personally. One of the other questions that needs to be brought up, and I've had this question thrown at me quite a few times, is the Naishi Stein Cafe. I thought Heidi could just explain to the people, because this question has been brought to me quite a few times. Why isn't it torn down? What are they going to do with it? So I would like to have Heidi, so it can be on channel 15 or 16, so people knows what's going on in the restaurant.
Well, I'm going to defer to the chair of that committee to answer.
Well,
Well, it's just this question has been brought to me quite a few times.
Everybody wants to know.
well, we kind of like it tore down just like everybody else, but it all
Exactly.
takes a little bit of process. So we're in that process, and it is, you have to take care of the asbestos and all the routines, what we're doing. So just tell everybody to be patient, because we all want the
But
same
this
thing.
question has been brought to me, and I figured if I bring it up.
Yeah.
and
No, that's good.
A lot of people.
That's good.
A lot of people listen to this, and I can't get
Right.
out, and this question has
Yeah.
been brought to me quite a few times.
Well, we're on the whole property as
Okay.
well, so it's just process, but it's in the works.
Okay,
Everything's looking good.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other public comments? Ty?
So, working on the park benches along the sidewalk. Just, I don't know if the sidewalk committee has signed off on that whole project or not, but we don't have much grass out there, but we got an awful lot of maple saplings. And, in order to rototill it with that netting that they put down with the straw built in and stuff, it's gonna make a hell of a mess. And I don't know, I would go back on Savage myself, or whoever did it, and,
It's GW Tetro, but that was part of the arrangement, is that we would pull that up in the spring, because it was a question, did we want it or not? And they thought it made sense to keep the soil in place over the winter. So we signed up for taking it up in the spring.
okay.
So,
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Roger Langevin. I wanted to introduce myself. I'm running for Franklin County Sheriff. I said running for Franklin County Sheriff, not from the Franklin County Sheriff. Who's here tonight. I'm a retired state trooper. I retired as a detective sergeant with the Vermont State Police. My last couple of years, I was in the Intel Division, where we collected information statewide, sometimes nationwide, if there was a Vermont nexus. And we put that information back out in the law enforcement community to help further investigations and lead to successful prosecution. 7 years prior to that, I was a patrol commander here in St. Albans, out of the barracks, and was in this area quite a bit. As a trooper, I spent most of my career on the road between St. Albans, Lamoille County, and Chittenden County. Currently, I'm with the St. Albans Police Department. I'm assigned as an SRO to the St. Albans Town Educational Center. And that's part of the reason I'd like to, again, become sheriff, is I'd like to see more SROs in schools. I'd like to see more patrols consistent amongst all the towns in Franklin County, not just a few.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask the question, what's an SRO?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's a school resource officer. They're really becoming more and more as part of the community, as their cultures are changing, their culture's changing. And they really provide a good service, not just to the schools, but to families and to the overall communities. I've been doing that for 4 years now. This is my 4th year at SATEC. But I also want to increase town patrols in the sense that I want to do much of what St. Albans PD is doing. Much like we did at the state police, is we found concerns in each community, and then we addressed those concerns. And each community's need is a little bit different, and each town's needs are a little bit different. So that's why I am
So-
running for the Franklin County Sheriff.
The question I would have, to
Yep.
increase patrols, there would have to be a cost with that, so would that cost
Absolutely.
have to get reflected back onto the town, or how are you planning on?
I think there are ways we can structure that differently, not all the burden on the town. There's a bill out there called S-273. The state police will no longer be taking contracts as of next year for towns. Their vision is to be out on the highways and major crimes. They don't want to be in towns and such. So I think there's a way that we can work with the state, each community, each county, and maybe get some of those monies to help pay for some of these additional patrols, because it's coming to that. I know a few years ago, legislature looked very strongly, if your community was 3,500 or 4,500, to get your own police department and police. So I mean, it's gonna be addressed again in the near future, so you can be ahead of that curve. And as the sheriff's department, I'd like to be, a part of that.
Does the board have any other questions?
What's your stance on nuisance four-wheelers?
Thank you.
We're ready to go.
I'll tell you, that's not any different than a lot of other communities. They're having the same thing with these four-wheelers. Again, it's an approach we gotta take as a community. The select board, law enforcement, but the entire criminal justice system, the prosecutor has to be involved. And what we're gonna come up with a plan. I'd wanna know, are there any possible, like, class 4 roads that we could maybe open up, or some other areas that we can open up to maybe negotiate with some of these four-wheelers, give them an area to go. I know in Lamoille County, when I was a trooper out that way, they opened up some roads in Eden, and they also opened some up in Bakersfield. That relieved a little bit of pressure.
And we also had spoken of that, because there is really no open area through Highgate to make it accessible for four-wheelers and stuff, and our recommendation was to make sure that they're registered and insured.
Yep.
And we would possibly give them, the opportunity to go from A to B, like a sleds and stuff.
Right.
So maybe working with them, some of them, they're not all gonna go with that,
Right.
and we know that.
Well, and it's like hunters and whatnot, a few of them
Right.
can really ruin it for a lot of others.
Well, they do.
There's a lot of them that do abide by it. I recall it's an incident in Lamoille County where there were two four-wheelers on the side of a road driving nicely. They weren't driving like jerks. And I pulled up ahead of them in a cruiser, I introduced myself to them, said, I appreciate the way you're driving. Get the word out that, if you drive like this, we're not gonna bother you, No calls, no complaints, essentially. But it takes a community effort and, a
Well,
belief in it.
We're right about in the middle of a plan ourselves for trying to deal with this issue. We've passed an ordinance, town ordinance concerning ATVs and snowmobiles that goes into effect June
Yes.
6th,
Trust her, she has
Uh,
a better
which-
So we're on page with that.
Yep, good.
which is gonna give law enforcement people something more to work with. And we're also been talking with VASA's executive folks quite a bit, and the local representatives of VASA, and got plans to set up a VASA branch, club, whatever it might be called, and find people through VASA some areas where they are permitted to ride, and possibly open up some town roads. And so we're gonna need a lot of buy-in from everybody
Yep.
to help make this work. We already got quite a lot of time and effort invested into it, and we think we're on a track that can make a difference as far as the level of inappropriateness that a lot of four-wheeler riders are demonstrating. So I'm sure we're open to ideas.
And they
I know
don't
we're
always,
open
they
to
don't always
ideas,
stop for
and
law
then-
enforcement either. That's the thing, and I don't know of any agency that will chase them. No, you can't, they
Yeah.
bounce too much.
Yeah, we're aware of that.
But they stop at the local gas stations and buy gas, and anybody could
We saw them tonight.
could walk up to them right then and
Right.
there.
Yep,
It's
I agree.
But we're looking to work with people, law enforcement people, to try and make something.
In place of that. You
Cut
I'd love to be a part of that in the future.
You're open.
Because four-wheelers aren't gonna go away. They're gonna increase.
So I guess the takeaway is we're already well into
January.
a planning process.
Good for you.
He would be running in that position after that.
So if we just backtrack just a little, if the state police are gonna be responsible for the highways and major crimes, does that mean that you're expecting the sheriff department to grow?
Absolutely. Yep. I would be looking for that anyway, because if you're not growing, you're essentially dying. And we don't want that. We want to continue to grow, and in most states, the sheriff's department is the leading law enforcement agency in that county.
Right, cause you'd have to go to a 24/7
Possibly. Yep.
schedule,
Yep.
cause you'd have to have some kind of coverage.
Yep. And it's not to say we couldn't come up with something similar to what the state police does now on call-out basis. Again, just looking at your statistics, one of the busy hours and that type of thing, and adjust that way. Again, each community is gonna be different.
You'll have some of your information out there when the time comes for when you're running your stuff for us?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yep. Yep,
sure.
I've got a couple cards with me now.
Definitely. That's what I was getting at.
I'll leave them with, here at the
Yeah.
desk.
Definitely. Okay.
Great.
Great.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Good luck.
it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'd be interested in entertaining some sort of sheriff's candidates for them. If it,
A debate.
yep, well, sure. If we've got, if we've got more than one candidate,
We did it when we had a select board race too. We did one, it was very nice. Richard Copperthwaite, notary. Oh my God.
Okay. Seeing as how we're moving on, let's go to the Franklin County Sheriff Department. Speaking of,
Good evening.
good evening.
I am Sheriff Bob Norris, for those of you who don't know that. As Roger alluded to, yes, I will be stepping down after this term. My term runs until January 31st of 2019. I've enjoyed working with all boards and the public at large, but it's time. It'll be 20 years as sheriff, 30 years and 7 months in full-time law enforcement. I've been gone a lot at night. I think my wife wants me to stay home a little bit more. I'm not sure about that, but we're gonna try it anyway. So, if I might just briefly touch upon, did you all get the 2017, 2018 reports here? I don't think I have to go over this line item by line item. I might give you a quick summation as to what's transpired here, but I'll start with 2017 incidents. Anytime you have a question, always feel free to ask the question.
Do you see your documents?
No. Sorry. We're
see
just,
mine
all of our
either.
documents are usually on our little tablets and we get an empty folder.
I don't have a tablet.
You can have mine.
I have a paper copy, you can share,
One
and
share,
Sharon
yeah.
and Steve have one, so.
You got it.
Yeah, and I got it in my email too, so I've already looked at it.
Oops, sorry, that's not all of it, there's another page. Ooh.
You good to go?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Ready to roll.
2017, of course, keep in mind for those who aren't aware, and I'm sure you are by now, that Highgate obviously splits the 7-day-a-week contract with the town of Sheldon, so these figures aren't necessarily for 7 days a week in Highgate. In 2017, we responded to a total of 289 incidents in Highgate, of which 25 were for ATVs. And if you have the paper copy, or your tablet ever jumps up and starts working on you here, we're giving you a breakdown as to each incident on the ATV as to what transpired during that. Now we'll go back to the ATVs afterwards. There's a section on drugs. Of course, July 1 of this year, marijuana will be legalized in the state of Vermont for possession of less than 1 ounce, I believe it is, and a bunch of mature plants and so on and so forth. So our concern in law enforcement is highway safety there. They haven't quite addressed that as far as we're concerned, but we'll see where that takes us. The powers that be have decided to make it legal, so be it. In 2017, you had a total of 52 arrests, various arrests, and there's a breakdown of each one of the sheets there. And there was a total of 252 tickets / warnings for a total of $33,295 issued in fines just within the town of Highgate. Briefly going back to the ATV issues, this is just my personal opinion. I think that what we have presently is not working. Okay, law enforcement just doesn't have the tools to address ATV issues. So having said that, and I know that Highgate is moving forward with an ordinance, and there's other municipalities that are doing the same thing. I think we need to look outside the box a little bit. And my thought process on this is, what we're doing is not working. And if you look at the facts that we have been given you, they're not stopping, so on and so forth. So I would support an ordinance. I would support getting as many UTVs, responsible operators, on the highways, but I would also support these UTV operators and ATV operators to start policing their own, knowing that if in fact they don't. Because in Hardwick, when Danny Hale came and talked to you, they do their own policing of these things. And we in law enforcement, we can't police it. We don't have the ATVs, we're not chasing ATVs with ATVs. It's a risky situation. So I think that in looking outside the box, maybe we should try to get as many ATVs and UTVs as we can on the highways, driving in a responsible manner, and put the burden on them to report these violations to law enforcement so that we can work with them. What we have now is a lot of people will be calling us or sending in videos and so on and so forth, but nobody wants to come forward and give us a written statement because it's been tested in court. Steve Lafar wants to give me a written statement, I'll issue a ticket, he goes to court, he testifies, boom, the courts accept that. So, and I understand some folks are worried about, retaliation and so on and so forth, but if we don't start caring for our own communities and being responsible for our own communities, then it's just gonna be the wild, wild west here. And Highgate does have its problems with the UTVs and ATVs, granted. They all hold the monopoly or the corner on it throughout Franklin County, I can assure you, but they do have an issue in Highgate. So I think that moving forward with this ordinance, I don't think state highway is gonna be exempt from it, obviously. You can control your town roads. I'm not sure if you're gonna find a whole lot of landlords that are gonna open up their lanes for ATV use. That's probably not gonna happen, but if we can open up certain class 4 roads, 3 roads, and have them drive in a responsible manner, and have ATV riders police these individuals, because I think we're dealing with a small percentage, 1 to 2%, that are just given, I got a side-by-side, okay, so these people are all giving us bad names, bad reputations here, okay, because they choose to come up behind cruisers, pop wheelies past cruisers, do whatever they do, okay, it's just irresponsible, it's negligent, and it's immature, to be quite honest, and they're giving ATV riders a bad name. Not everyone fits into that category. So that's my spiel on the ATV search. I think we should move ahead, the board should move ahead, and you are. Let's try something different, because what we're doing now ain't working, folks.
Right.
It is not working.
Well, that's where we picked our step up for the ordinance to make sure that we could have something to work with. And like you said, we know that, they don't belong on the main roads.
Mhm.
And we talked about opening secondary roads, certain roads, to get them from A to B. It's not your normal citizen that has a side-by-side like yourself that we're concerned in. We're concerned in the 4 or 5 that go up and down the highway, popping wheelies and making traffic have to pull over for them. And what we're worried about, who's the one gonna get sued when we get done? More than likely they're gonna go after the person that ran them over and they didn't even belong on the road. So we have to start somewhere, Bob, and we've had a lot of conversation about that. Our fish and game department, I work well with fish and game as well, I run other programs. They're on board with it as well, and sometimes our hands are tied. But we have addressed a lot of the people, even myself, some of the youths that are doing this. You tell them, hey, slow it down. Well, there's a limit what you can do.
And we can talk ATVs all night long about that.
And you're not gonna get anywhere. We've been numerous conversations on that, and like, at least long as we're doing stuff like our ordinance and stuff to start somewhere, then we got something to do. We spoke here as well, and it was only the normal people that showed up that are willing to restroom and insure them, and them aren't the people that we're concerned about. And like you said, if you're going down the road and there's a situation, you see if they're going to go fishing or going hunting, run by them. We've said that, we've stated that. It's the 4, 5, 6 in town that are really creating a lot, and we get a lot of phone calls over that as well, and we tell them, call your local sheriff. and
Thank you.
We don't risk it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so
And
maybe
we know
start
where your
trying
hands
something
are
different,
tied.
folks, and then maybe you're heading in the right direction.
It's pretty frustrating, we understand that, 100%.
It is.
Yeah.
So,
as well as us.
so I have a little bit larger concern, and how's drug enforcement? Is that working?
Well, that's gonna be real interesting July 1, discuss that issue once again.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, how's that gonna affect us? We just had a murder, or just found a murder in Highgate. To me, that's just,
Too close.
can't believe it. You know, what the hell?
Well, I don't have all the inside information on that, even if I did, it's
No.
a criminal case pending
No, no.
on that.
Yeah.
However, having said that, and it was an isolated incident. I mean, we can sit back and say, okay, well, homicide went up 100% in Highgate this year, and the reason for that is because you've had one. You had
Right,
one in the past, so that's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing that it happened, but, and I've heard everything from domestic issues to drug-related problems, whatever else, and probably all the above fit in here. But I can assure that we have an epidemic in the state of Vermont throughout the country when it comes to drugs, okay? And there's no quick fix for that. We've dumped millions of dollars into drug enforcement along the borders, within our local municipalities, and so forth. And the bottom line is, if there's money to be made, easy money to be made, they're gonna thrive out there. And we're gonna see the fallout from it. You know, honest taxpaying citizens, whether it's our nuisance crimes, you know, the burglaries and so on and so forth. And it's hard. I mean, even if you have 24/7 dedicated service, you got a division of detectives that are out there. It's a slow process. Our courts, they tie our hands with resources and our surveillance and so on and so forth. So I think law enforcement generally is doing a good job in the state of Vermont. We try to do the best we can on what we've got. But it's a thriving business out there, unfortunately, and they just threw the curveball at us with legalization of marijuana come July 1.
Right.
So
It makes me personally nervous. St. Albans has set up their own drug task force, which is wonderful for them, but if you force those people out of that town, where are they going? They're going into the rest of the towns.
Yeah, and I've heard the term, I forget what the term is. Displacement and you know, and from Franklin County's aspect, we look at, wait, we got 15 communities, and we don't want to displace them from one township to another township because we cover all Franklin County here. So that's a tough situation. And selfishly, when I was working for a municipality, I tried to push people out of the municipality. They wouldn't be my problem no longer, but as long as they reside or thrive in Franklin County, then they are a problem. They are a concern, more important because of the communities that they live within here. And so there's some good and bad with that, I guess. Anything that we do in law enforcement, we have to be careful.
Do you think the problem is becoming worse?
Yes. I hate to say that, but yes.
Tell
It's
just
just
doing,
not spiraling down.
you can tell just doing green up day. Walk along the road, you find needles, bottles of pills
Yeah.
all over.
You know, I mean, we got things like they're talking about legalized places to shoot up. And what, you know?
Yeah, can you believe it?
Is it state tax dollars gonna be used for that? I don't know, but anyways,
I wouldn't want one for that.
we have it's different today. Things are,
Yeah.
I spent an entire career attempting to combat crime and drugs and whatever else, and it's just, okay, we're gonna legalize marijuana, we're gonna set up safe places to shoot up drugs and so on and so forth. So I don't know what the answer is. And I'm old school, and I don't know if I can change with the times, and did I tell you I was stepping down? And I'd love to be in a debate, however, I may not have it on my calendar.
Yeah.
The early education programs that the sheriff's department used to run, like DARE,
I was
do
just gonna bring that
they,
up.
do they feel that that would be worth bringing back?
It was, what we ran into, there was a lot of schools that didn't support DARE no more, and the reason for that was because I was told that DARE, I believe, was the 5th and 6th graders, and after they completed the program or whatever else, there was really no follow-up with recidivism and so on and so forth as to how the program was working. So a lot of the schools decided to pull away from the DARE project. I think DARE is still being taught in certain schools. Anything is better than nothing, is my thought process on it, but it was a lot of the superintendents, whatever else, that decided to try other programs.
The problem today is if they see their parents doing it, and it's just a cycle.
It's an environment they grow up in.
Yep, and that's the sad part.
But in reference to the schools, I mean, we had the first school resource officer in Franklin County. That was a bit of a turmoil, trying to place that individual out in Missisquoi, which finally was very successful. We had him there for 8 years. We stepped aside because they were having problems financially, which we understand. Helped Swan PD apply for a grant, and they were able to put someone in there for 3 years at taxpayer savings, which they did. We'll be starting our school resource officer in Fairfax this year. I can't say Fairfax High School because I believe Fairfax is K through 12, so that's going to be quite a diverse program down there. Undertaking what the deputy is placed in that school. So we presently have school resource officer in Fairfax, Enosburg, and Richford High School. So 3 out of the 5 high schools are covered. And St. Albans City has BFA, and Swan PD has Missisquoi. And also Roger works at SATEX, St. Albans Town Educational Center as an SO there. And I believe there's some time spent at the city school also. At
Correct.
Highgate, so. So a lot of the schools that can do, but there's a cost that goes along with it, obviously. And we've been fortunate when applying for grants for these positions, but we only have, Richford is in the last year of their grant. They're 4 years and they've already passed. They're going to continue the program in Richford. Enosburg has been supporting that program for years up there without a grant. Fairfax got the grant. There's a 3-year project and there's a retention letter for the 4th year. So we'll see how that goes down. I'm sure it's going to be quite nice, and I believe that, I don't believe St. Albans is operating on any grants at all, state debt or BFA at this point in time. I believe that those are funded through the taxpayers. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. So there's a lot of good in school resource officers, but we have to remember that they're not wardens, they're not there for tickets, and it's, they're a liaison between, community members and the police department. They show that police officers come in, they put their pants on the same way mom and dad do in the morning when they get to school. Not when they get to school. Sorry, going to school. I got a little bit on that one there. But it's a good program, we support it. And it's been successful, and it does place someone in your school system where our children are.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing that I can think of is where our children go to school. So it's a good thing. Is it foolproof? No. Okay, there's nothing foolproof except taxes are gonna go up, you're gonna die. Those are guarantees. But it's a good program, we've supported it for years, we'll continue to support it. Well, I think we will, but I'll support it to January 2019, January 31st. And I'm sure that whoever comes in after me will support the program also, because it's a good program. They're a good program nationwide. So having said that, is there any questions on 2017, Bruce?
Tom, did you have something else?
I'll go, Bruce can go there.
Are the SROs at the school all day long throughout the entire week?
MDUs is, I don't know about others.
So-
MDUs is there.
Well, speaking for our office, I can tell you that in Enosburg and Richford, for the most part,
Oh.
they are at the school 8 hours a day. Having said that, guess what? They get sick too. They may have a sick or they may have a vacation, but their precinct or their duty station is the school for 40 hours a week, yes. They have flexibility in their schedules. We work well with the schools as far as they may have a cross-town rivalry coming up and they want the SRO, and he or she has the option of just going, or they can pay them extra, or they can flex their schedule at school, whatever they may be, as long as we try not to make it cost any more than what it possibly can cost for our taxpayers, because I pay taxes too, so I can realize the importance of
Yeah, but,
controlling.
so this is a trained police officer that's at the school
Yes,
who can, who has the skills to function as some sort of a first responder
yes.
in the event of something very unfortunate.
And the thing is, I think with school resource officers is what's very important is, if I was to say, okay, well, you're gonna go to school, they may not wanna be there. So they're probably not gonna do that job at 110%. I think most of the school resource officers that we have in Franklin County want to be in the schools. So they're doing a good job while they're in the schools because they want to be there. They enjoy working with faculty, staff, and the children. They feel the job is a very important function.
But as a taxpayer, I didn't know there was a police officer in the schools, in whatever capacity.
Yeah.
That's. I think
It's a
that-
good thing. It's a good
I
thing.
think it's quite a good thing. Now, who picks up the financial?
Well, like I said, there's a couple
responsibility
different
for
ways
that?
of doing it. Some schools are simply just, the school board is just putting it into their budget.
Okay.
Our pastor's budget, putting it in. But we were able to get grants in Richford. I'm not sure about Enosburg or not. We did it in Cisco, we did it at Fairfax. I think they did it at BFA originally. It's a 3-year grant, and then year 4 is a retention letter. You would have to pay them. But a lot of schools, once they're in it, it's discontinued. No one has discontinued the program in any schools. It's flourishing. It's a very good project.
Tom?
My question is, I guess, the law enforcement side of it is absolutely great. Do they involve, and it can go to both Bob and Roger, do they involve an educational piece, like a DARE would, or is it more of a, I guess, because Bob, you're mostly in high schools, and it sounds like St. Albans is in both age levels, I
I think, speaking from the sheriff's office, is we first of all, the last thing we wanna do is threaten the counselors, the teachers, whatever else. The school resource officer will go to any classroom upon request from anyone to instruct a law-related educational class, driver's ed, anything that they may request, they will go in and simply communicate with teachers and the students in there. But we have an open door policy with the sheriff's office, that they can approach the school resource officer, they can go in the office, so on and so forth, but we don't want to take the place of anybody else. So we have to have an open door policy.
Right.
As far as what Roger and City PD do, I'd ask him to comment on that, to be quite honest.
I participate in the 5th, 6th, and 7th, and 8th grades. When they do their drug piece, they have a counselor that comes in, a drug and alcohol prevention counselor, who's there at the school. And she will do a piece on drugs and effects of, they gotta do projects on, pick a specific drug and do a project on it. And I will go in, I brought the, like a detective in from the Northern Vermont Drug Task Force. I brought in some other individuals that can speak at that level for drugs and stuff, so there's a couple of guest speakers that we can bring in. And as an SRO, that's what I am, I'm a resource officer, so I bring a lot of different things, as Bob was saying.
Right.
You know, and we bring it in from a lot of different places, but we also do a lot with families. There's a lot of broken families there, so we do a lot of family counseling with restraining orders and all that other stuff as
Yeah,
well.
oh, yeah.
It's busy, and you're always constantly checking doors, you don't want doors propped open.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot of security issues throughout the schools. But we are teaching at a variety of levels, like I said, at the student level and also at the parent level, you know, dealing with a lot of issues. The last thing we want is to have a restraining order where a parent's not supposed to take a child, and they come at the end of school and they take their child, and now we get a flight risk. It could go multiple states, we got a potential kidnapping.
Right.
So that's, you know, being right there. If there's a safety issue at school, we're not gonna let the kid go home with mom or dad, they both have rights, but there's a safety issue.
Yeah.
I take that child into custody, not the school, until I resolve the safety
Yeah.
issue. So the schools can reduce liability. So it
There's
works out
a-
great, and administration works well with you.
There's a multitude of things that they do, everything from
Absolutely,
early
I-
intervention to whatever else.
I worked at school back when Greg was at Rio, you know, I mean, they've been in place, and it's a great, but having an 11-year-old, and, you know, I want the educational piece, and I hope that the schools use their resources.
I think they
That
do.
they can.
I think that the schools work well with the resource officers and there's good communication there, so it's a flourishing program, and I think it's very beneficial for the communities and the schools.
Thank you, guys.
Any further questions on that, or 2017 issues, or? Oh, thank you very much. I couldn't bend over and get that. 2018 to date, which is January 1 up until April 30th, there was a total of 195 incidents. Fortunately, only 3 ATV incidents, but of course, this is the winter months here, so.
Yeah.
We did receive a complaint and some videos from a subject on Lambkin Street here, which we're following up. There was a total of 6 arrests, 84 tickets, and we issued their title. So, having said that, any questions on 2018? If not, I'll introduce Tom Wall, who's been in the sheriff's office since 1988. He's been in my administration for the past 20 years as a lieutenant. He's very familiar with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. Been my right-hand man. He is my right-hand man now because my captain retired, so Tom has stepped into that role. But he's very familiar with the office, and he too will be seeking the open seat for Franklin County Sheriff. So, if you don't mind, just give Tom a few minutes here.
No, absolutely.
Thanks for having me. As Bob said, I've been there since, 1989. I started under the previous administration. And we had some bumps and bruises early on, but when Bob came in, we've really grown and flourished, and it's been a pleasure to be a part of that whole system that, you know, we've brought up to where it is now. We are still growing on a daily basis. Finding police officers is always a challenge, and we're finding ourselves having to constantly be in the recruiting process. It's always going on. We can't ever get through an academy
Tough job.
and be there, and we're always having to look ahead to the next one. And we are currently looking at 5 new candidates coming aboard in the fall, around September, that are gonna be starting training, and that should get us back up to, you know, pretty good operational levels. It's a very busy summer. and feel free to reach out to me at any time if you wanna know anything. I'm here for you. You have in the past, so.
Oh, yeah.
How many people work at the sheriff's office?
I believe we have 12 full-timers, and I couldn't even tell you the part-timers at the moment.
We've got approximately 38 people on
Yeah.
payroll at the sheriff's office. That includes civilian staffs, SROs, court personnel. We've got 3 people in the court. We've got
2 admin staff.
13, counting myself, full-time officers, and one will be graduating here next Friday. We're putting another one through July 30th. The process has started. We've got a good candidate for that. We have, I believe it's 18 part-time officers, and we'll have other candidates come along. It's, we seem to be doing all right personnel-wise, which is a good thing, obviously, because there's many departments throughout the states who, it's getting tough to find good qualified candidates.
That's for any job.
Right. Folks seem to be happy they come to work for us, though, and they.
Present
Well, that's
company
good.
included, right?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. But it's if a company is looking for help, it's hard to find.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
especially when there's testing restrictions and
Yeah.
PTs.
So,
So where do you see the sheriff's department in 5 years?
In 5 years, I would like to see all the schools have SROs as far as that, definitely at the high school levels. Kids are starting to get pretty volatile at those ages, you know, they start to drive and they need to have some guidance, you know, with the driver's ed and all that. I would like to see them in all of the schools. I myself have children in schools, and we all have those same worries every day when your kid goes to school. I've had to respond to the school that, you know, my young daughter was in because of an out of control person before, so that's a big deal, and paying for it is really the crux of the matter. Can we afford not to? I don't believe we can. We gotta find a way to make it work. That's really the biggest thing is protecting our children, because they're the future, you know, and bringing them up right. A lot of them aren't being brought up very well right now. That would solve a lot of our other social problems, you know, the four-wheelers, the drugs, and having a police officer in a school early on is a good representation of what, you know, kids should be like. Obviously more patrols, but whatever we can do to make the quality of life better, whether it's patrols or not.
Town has a situation where we have a constable we're very fond of, but having a little trouble getting him through that last hurdle of training. Bob, we've talked about it
With a
before.
field training officer?
Yeah, I mean, looking at having resource officers in schools, if there's some way that you can create that program that's gonna make constables able to be a little more effective for their towns, that would be a great gift also.
I'm not familiar with, I believe there is a difference in the field training situation with a constable over a law enforcement officer. We do have certified FTOs within our building, but I don't know how it would relate without checking with the academy as far as constables go. We have partnered with other departments field training wise before in the past. That's something we would have to look into as far as, you know, just general liability and so on, but
There's a need.
always willing to look and talk about it. Of course, we would have to definitely check into the legality of us doing it first.
and Heidi and I have talked about this, just to bring more quickly up to date on this. The problem that I have with it is the academy started the program, it's their program. It's going through there. The problem that I have with it more specifically, personally, is we can run someone through a field training officer program. However, we don't have direct supervision on these individuals. So the minute that we train them, they go back to their respective municipalities, and something happens, they're gonna say, where'd you receive your training? Oh, we did it at the sheriff's office. So we're being brought into something that, because if we had direct supervision over that individual,
Right.
male or female, I wouldn't have a problem with it so much. But it's something that we would have to check into, and I would hope that any one of the.
You're saying if you would actually have to hire them and go through and know that they're qualified, is that what you're saying?
Well, they have different responsibilities and legal enforcement abilities than we do.
Okay.
And so, you know, if we train somebody,
Yeah.
we're gonna be training them with our people the way that we know. So we would have to learn the other way of training a constable per se too.
There's certain things the council
Yeah.
can do within the townships for our civil process. Prisoners, serve your municipal tickets and so on and so forth. They actually can work in the courts too, under the statute, the way it's written here. But above and beyond that, there's a liability that comes with it. And if you're gonna have, and we know your constable too, and we like him too, and he's had the opportunity to come through our process, and at the last minute, he decided that maybe he didn't have the time to dedicate to our office. So he felt kind of guilty and so he pulled out of the process temporarily, but not to say he would come back and revisit that opportunity.
Right.
But
Maybe
it was
down the
difficult.
road, it'll be something that you could take under the sheriff's office wing, and
You could
maybe it could
certainly
be
look at
someone
it.
that you supervise, you know.
I
so
don't
that
know if
towns
it's a
can do
viable
that.
thing for us, but we can certainly.
I can't comment on down the road, but we live in a very litigious society,
Yeah.
and that's just the way that it is. So we'll have to have, I'm sure that whoever would get their T's crossed and I's dotted here on this before we took on someone from the outside.
Yeah,
Not saying they're not capable,
and maybe
so-
the academy could serve a purpose there as well.
It's like an unfunded mandate, right? I mean, they keep coming out with these unfunded mandates and expect us to, they come up with these new laws and rules that we're gonna do this, and they also have the FPO program for these individuals, but unfortunately. Because you have a lot of good qualified individuals out there who could do a good job within your communities.
I don't believe most people understand how much that, you're an asset to the community. Because there's a lot of varieties what you guys do. It isn't just one thing, there's numerous things. So my hat's off to you guys for even, working with the system, and I know that you do the best you can do. We're aware of that, especially on our ATV. I know we hound you about it, but that's,
I'd expect nothing less.
well, but we go way back, Bob, so.
Oh, yeah, we do.
You know, if I got a question, I'm gonna ask it, but, the same token, we do realize that you're doing, a great job in the community. It's definitely a hard job.
We appreciate that.
Yep, definitely, I'll give you that for sure.
So hopefully I'll be able to meet with you folks at least one more time.
Yeah.
But if not, if you choose not to anyways, I'm tell you, it's been a pleasure working with you.
For sure, Bob.
This is gonna take a second.
That's all right, Bruce. Take your time. Take your time. Been a pleasure.
Thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Bob. Nice to see you guys.
And good luck on your endeavors as well.
So I just want to remind you all that we do receive an update from the Franklin County Sheriff's Department with our bill. It's in your Dropbox, labeled Franklin County Sheriff's Report every month.
Okay, moving on.
Yep.
Pat. Our Public Works Department.
Well, I got a couple quotes for chloride last week. We had a gentleman stop in from New Hampshire one day. They gave us a price, and a price from Gorham, who we usually get it from. They're a penny cheaper out of New Hampshire, but Gorham is treated as well, so I think we should stay with 83 cents a gallon for chloride, so versus 82 coming out of New Hampshire. He to give me a price on magnesium chloride. It was much cheaper, but the response I've heard of the magnesium doesn't work as well as the regular chloride, so talking to other towns, so
So Gorham is at how much?
83 cents a gallon.
83, okay.
And the rated was 82 cents.
How many gallons do we?
40, usually 4,300. The load they bring, maximum minimum. We have 3 tanks down there. One's still full right now. We're gonna be starting, if the weather ever cooperates, we can get the grade and put the chloride down. So, our street sweeping is done finally. Weather cooperated a little bit the other day. That's it for that.
Do you need us to approve the Gorham contract for 83 cents a gallon?
If you want to.
Do I have a motion?
Now I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Road commissioner didn't get to weigh in on it.
He's busy.
He's apparently off somewhere.
Project book,
Yes?
all that project. Josh and I took a ride today, so I got some more to add into there.
Fantastic.
Him and I took a ride today for paving, discussed a few things, different spots that I'm gonna try to grade the roads of which ones are more important right now with traffic and so. We're just trying to figure, I gotta talk to you tomorrow, Shirley, about the paving budgets, so I just wanna make sure we're on the right track.
After July 1,
Cause I was reading the other one today, it was like 247.
because we paved at the end of June
Right.
last year, so
Okay.
we were in the deficit at the end of last year.
Okay,
So that money will not be spent this year.
okay, we'll have to discuss that with Mr. Rock.
We can do that.
Just wanna make sure we get the right amount of money for what we've gotta do.
Perfect.
How's the culvert situation?
Culvert situation.
As in, do we have a lot of culverts
We
to
do.
change?
We do. That was one of the projects. We do have 4 on the on the Gore Road. I am waiting until school gets out to attempt those, so we don't have to deal with the school buses.
Yeah.
We got 4 there. There was like 3 or 4 we found on Carter Hill today that should be replaced before we do any paving down there. They're all over. There's a lot of neglect that needs to be brought up, so.
Do you have an idea of timing for like the Mill Hill project and the Frontage Road project to give people a kind of a
The
heads up?
frontage road is still, we haven't.
It's an application
An
still.
application still,
Okay.
so.
We haven't been
That
awarded
one's-
that.
Mill Hill is, I'm waiting for the village to finish their dam before I even attempt. I did order the DIs the other day with Mark from camp. He came up the other day and met me and showed him, so he's got those, so they'll have them for us.
Good.
So when we get ready to start that Tart Road project, I wanna start that pretty soon. About the water quality. It's gonna take probably a few days to change some culverts there and stone line ditching for the water quality management. What else?
I meant to tell you about those trees there, a few of them.
I gotta look at those too.
You haven't looked at them yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Maybe Monday. We have some more on.
Well,
There's some bigger ones on Lincoln Street that are issues.
Yeah. well, if they fall on the road,
Yeah.
you know, and especially a highway like
Job
ours,
security.
job security. Yeah, definitely.
They grow up and fall down.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, it's we took a ride today.
Okay.
So, the
The-
stormwater permits. I think to approve that, I believe.
Say it again?
The signing of the stormwater, everything, so they can get everything in pursuit of.
The stormwater, meaning, are you talking about a project or the permit? Okay, so the municipal roads general permit, Pat and I met with Bethany and went over that in detail, and there is a summary in your Dropbox. And you have,
Yeah, and the summary from Northwest Regional is 2 pages, and then the rest is blank. So I don't know what happened to that one either.
well, these were attached to an email. You got the
Right.
municipal permit, right?
Yeah, I got the permit and all of its specifications, but I did not get the piece from Northwest.
I'm not sure what the piece from Northwest is. But by July, the town has to register with the state and pay a fee to say that we're Highgate. We understand we have 2 years to complete our road inventory. We've done that already. So we just register, and then by April of 2019, we have to complete an update that says what we've done to date. And I wrote up a bit of a summary about what had to be tackled first. We have to tackle 15% of our projects every 5 years. So that's a little more than, or a little less than 4 a year.
So how do you, I don't see any. I don't see that. These are some of the projects. have to deal with.
Have you got that in small, print?
I think we did have that in
You
the
got it.
Dropbox. I did see it at one point.
Yeah, so these are
So
some.
you
of the-
saw documents in there before?
Yeah, I've seen
Okay,
this.
so
I've seen this
put 'em
map
in,
in there before.
Some of these have been done, like Spooner's has been
Yeah,
done.
that's
Brewers is done yet.
Dirty Road.
This is the one we're
This
talking
is the
about.
one we talked about yesterday.
Yep.
And there's different issues that has to be taken care of for
We
this.
have to pay a $2,000 annual fee. That's just a,
So we can work on our own roads.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess money's going into a pool towards this grant. I don't really understand what they're charging.
General fund.
Uh,
Yeah.
We gotta do something with that.
And that's just something that they have that's
No, it does not meet
does
standards.
not meet standards, so there's some issues that do not meet the standard for any grants, that if we need to fix it, it's gonna come out of our pocket. So, but basically this is what regional planning had come up with, of what they assessed and found, so.
And there's a good report, and it really breaks out each project, how it ranks, in what category it is. If it's a paved with a 10% slope, has to be done by a certain date. If it's a class 4, it has to be done by a certain date. It breaks it all out.
Yeah, that pamphlet, that just about tells everything.
Yep, and that grants in aid that we got last year for Spooner Hill is open again right now. Pat and I met with Bethany and went out to the Hannah Road spot, which will address 2 segments. And so that's what we wanted to apply for. So we have to get a letter of intent in by July 1st. Sooner is better.
Pat and I went over that project today. Definitely some work there.
Yeah, and we won't have funds to fix the Durkee Road side, which was the original design that you saw.
Goes up farther.
Yeah.
So we're gonna not do that because it would not be covered under that grant program because it doesn't show as having water within 500 feet or, is that the standard, 500 feet, I think?
Yeah, I think it was.
Something like that. So we could fix that with other funds. But, so it would cover 2 driveway culverts, 1 road culvert, stone lining the ditch,
Making some shoulders.
and
We got funding for
scraping
that one, right?
shoulders.
That's supposed to be done last year.
Which one's that?
No,
What is it?
not no.
Yeah, that's gonna be done this year.
Yeah.
After they get the dam put in, so
And
we're
the
not interfering with each other.
the 2 Tart Road ones will count towards this
Yeah.
too.
And those are gonna start here shortly, hopefully.
Spooner Hill and the work you did
Spooner Hill,
on
that's done.
Boucher Road.
Boucher, by Bassett's, we've done some of it there, still needs to be stone lined, but we've taken care of most of it, the ditching part, so. But this is everything that,
So will this count toward our first 5-year
Yes.
project improvement?
Yeah, because when we upload, we're uploading this inventory that was done in 2016. So everything we've done since then will count, but this has to be updated every 5 years.
Right.
So we'll be further into the cycle of needing to update again.
and she said
But
if you
all
go into a computer program or something and update as we're going to, right? So I remember her saying that. Once
Yeah.
they get it all situated.
Right, I'm sure they
Yeah.
have this on a.
But this is in my office, hanging on the wall, so if anybody wants to come in and look at it, they're more welcome
There
to
you
come
go.
in and look at it,
Yeah.
so you can see what's what, and,
You got a smaller version of that?
yeah, but it's hard to read.
No. Well, no, but we can get that off if we
The
go.
report is quite thorough.
Yeah.
It's very well
Yeah.
done. So
Okay.
there's a lot of good information in there.
Looking at the other projects. Along with the regular work.
Right, yeah.
4 projects a year, you're saying, that should be done, and have you kinda broke them down to what you wanna do on those? Are you-
We gotta go through and, well, they're prioritized of what
Okay,
should be.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
And they have to accept that plan, they'll give you feedback, you might have to change it,
Okay.
so.
So is Northwest Regional overseeing this, or is it the state?
It's a state program, but Bethany is working with the towns to get them up to speed.
Up to speed of what they gotta do.
And the $2,000 was the way that the final version was written, that each town would pay the same fee across the board regardless of how many miles you have, and I think that that's going to be revised. So she said it's possible that it could change, well, it won't go above that amount. So we may have to pay slightly less, but we don't know.
Plan on the two.
Plan on 2,000, yeah.
There is a paper we got the other day for grants for any equipment for projects.
Yeah.
Hydro seeder. There's some other roller for the grader to help with these projects that for the water quality control. So we talked about the hydro seeder. We have a bale mulcher, but the hydro seeder works better on the steeper slopes. And we didn't buy into the one that Franklin County, St. Albans town has, Swan has, so.
So this is what Pat is talking about. So that equipment grant, we can't use any in-kind match, so we'd have to have cash match, but I think Shelley has that in hand. And so Pat's talking about the hydro seeder, and our match would be 1,300. So that's,
Town of Georgia just purchased their own, they buy it, no rental. You can leave it in back of the ton truck if we had to, and when we're ditching and when we're done, we hydro seed it right after. Cause basically, we're supposed to be doing that on every ditching job we do by night, it's supposed to be seeded when we're done.
Right, yeah, you only have so many
So when-
days before it needs to be stable.
For that, so.
Leaf blowers.
Considerable chunk left in his sand line budget,
Okay.
using the frontage road sand,
Yeah,
that would cover the match.
but we're a little over on stone too, so.
A little bit, was looking at the balances today, he's in good shape.
What about the $2,000? Where will we
I was
take that
just
from?
gonna ask, when is that starting? Like now?
no, I think all we have to pay in July is $240 to
For that fiscal
upload.
year?
And then
Pat, what about leaf blowers?
I think the 2,000 isn't due until April.
I think that leaf blower goes on
So
the back of
we
a
could-
tractor. I seen at the berry show the other day, it's like a, looks like a
Okay, yeah.
turbine,
Yep, jet engine.
which would be nice, but our tractor's not big enough for that.
I'll double
Gotcha.
check
It
that
doesn't
again.
say anything to do that.
I think there's gonna be
Oh,
another
yeah,
update.
reduce
They're
color
gonna
Consider
plug.
the
plug-in.
first year we had to budget for.
Be a big
Got
one.
all the stone line ditches, so
Two
we gotta
fiscal
go back
years.
and.
Or if we had leftover from this year, maybe it'd
Mhm.
be nice to set that aside
Yep.
specifically for that purpose.
Mhm.
So we make sure we have the money for that,
Mhm.
because we don't really have a lot of choice.
No.
Plate compactors.
That's true.
We got a brand new one.
I know.
This stormwater grant program is in response to that. That money is supposed to help towns get to their goals. So we're actually eligible for more this year than we were last year. Last year, we started at a baseline 9,000, and then we went up to 11,000 because some other towns didn't wanna participate.
Right.
This year, I think we start at 11.
13 maybe.
Yeah, I can't remember if 13 was
Circled around,
us. Yeah. I don't know if I have that paper. I think I just gave it to you. Anyway, it's more than it was last year. Highgate is eligible for 11,300 with a 20% match, but that can be in-kind with the equipment. So that's an easy amount to meet. So, this is also not due until July, I believe. But we're going to work
When's
with
that
Jim
due?
Smith just to fine tune this. He made this in 2014 for a previous application, and we're taking out the whole Turkey Road piece and bringing it down under the amount that we're
When's this
eligible for.
equipment grant due? I didn't see.
I think that's the same.
July sometime, I asked Heidi this morning. Mid-July, July 21.
By July 31st?
31st.
Yep.
So,
Notice of intent.
the stormwater one, you have to sign a letter of intent by June 22nd, so I'll have that in your next packet. And we have to have our,
And this is just one piece of equipment.
it is, you're eligible for one per
Hydro
town.
seeder would be the most useful there, I would say.
Would that take the place of mulch shed
And
for the most part?
most part, like
And,
the steeper slopes and stuff, but like the regular lawns, the mulch case still works.
yeah, I didn't
Depends how
know,
fast you want it to grow, I guess.
and, the cost associated,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, 'cause the, yeah, let's drink that. The hydro seeder, you get a little extra with your, you got water and the insulation or whatever, looks like insulation when you put it together, so. Tanglewood speed study, Bethany is going to do that, I believe, like you said today.
Mhm.
To drop it to 25, aim for no lower than 25.
Oh,
To stay,
it's gonna be a few weeks, I think she said
you know, it can be a while.
within a month she'll get it done.
So,
But state spec says you can't go over 100 feet miles an hour, so
You good with that?
35 is a
You
little
good with
faster than that.
Yeah.
Can we go back to this and just deal with this now, this one? So I would make a motion to purchase the hydro seeder with this grant of a $1,300 match and take the money out of their sand budget, because I think a hydro seeder is a pretty handy tool, and I don't think we should have to go borrow one every time we need one. How many times we borrowed it already?
Now, we've used the one from Swanton once for the Boucher Road.
Yeah.
We could use it more often, but,
No, I mean,
you know, like, they're in the plan down there, so they're bought in, so you don't know where it is. It could be in St. Albans, it could be in Swanton, it could
Right.
be somewhere else.
I just don't think you're gonna get one cheaper than that. I mean,
Right.
the hydro seeder cost is $6,500, and we're getting it for $1,300. So
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Wait, little discussion.
Yep.
Like when we borrow it, do we compensate anybody for its use, or?
And we just work with each other. If you borrow something, they need something, we just
Trade it off.
trade it off.
So if we own a piece of equipment that somebody else might need a little bit, we got the potential to,
Work, trade.
So for an
Swap use of something else.
for example, Pat asked me if this was okay, and I said it was fine. We had to replace a couple culverts on Compano Road. We
Mm.
used Swanton's excavator. They brought it up their truck. We used it for a couple 3 days. Brought it back to them, and then it came time to truck sand. We went down and gave them a truck for a day and truck sand for them and helped them out because they were down a truck, I think. So.
alright,
I think it's a good example of working together, and it saved us a ton of money. We didn't have
Same
to.
thing with Swanton Village, I've been trying to help them out. They had an issue down with them, they couldn't get up there to load the debris out, so I went down one day with a loader and helped them out down there, so one hand washes the other.
Yeah,
So,
it's being a good neighbor.
Good neighbors, good town neighbors.
yeah, that's a great
Definitely.
way to do things.
Work with whoever I can, when I can.
Okay, so you're gonna vote on that?
You got a motion that's been seconded.
Okay, so all those in favor of buying the hydro seeder, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
I did go last week and picked up the new A-frame for the plow. Didn't come with complete, like I thought it would. I had to buy some extra parts with it, so it's gonna be a little expensive extra parts. It was just the frame itself, nothing to hook to the truck. Just hope we see a bill.
It's on the next check warrant. I don't remember, 1,500 part,
25.
2,500.
Cheaper, but only quoted because quoted 26, but whether that's down inside the shed, so when we get a rainy day, we can switch it back out. Put the other plow there, so we'll have our spare plow and
The other thing is, before we spend all the sand money that was left over, make sure you get some of those spare parts, like bearings and chains and what you need for winter, even though
right
now it's
we have
spring.
it.
Yeah, give yourself
When
a,
chasing parts or asking other towns for parts.
right, yeah, give yourself a
They're
little bit of
also
lean.
needing the winter time, so. Right, gotcha.
The insurance check covered that $10 bill
Yeah.
that we had received back from the plow. Is it?
Okay, what else?
Butch, this morning, he was over to the store and before he come to work, and one of the flaggers that live on Lancaster Street told him he had some extra cones they wanted to get rid of. We're down on some. He was selling, he told Butch $5 a piece. Well, he's got like 200 of them, so. We're down some, so if we could buy 25 or so from him or something. Always during the legal retro-reflective.
You're right.
Make sure they're legal ones, but for $5 a piece, they're regular $20 a piece.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Is the guys, you know.
Yeah, I wondered the same thing.
Do you burn your hand on them when you touch it?
Going around collected?
I know he works, he's one of the foremans for this traffic company, so maybe something they probably update every year.
So just get a receipt.
Yeah.
Not tires, they're not tires, just think of that, not tires.
I just figured I'd throw that out so y'all know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's under,
do you want a motion?
I don't think we need one.
Sounds like a regular expense of some
Yeah.
sort.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting down, some of them have disappeared over the past 2 years I've been here. We started with a couple big piles and now we're down to like 1.5. I don't know where they all disappeared.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
All ours stay down at Highgate on them.
I was thinking
On Sundays, don't say town swamp, no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, I'll check them out for you.
yeah, make sure you don't buy any of that, stay with town swamp.
Maybe we have to pay that company, I don't know. We have to talk to them more,
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, well, it's fine.
save us a little money. We had to buy them outright, cause they're like $20 a piece now, 20 to 30, so.
Okay, any other questions for Pat?
I just wanted to bring up the Monument Road again. You've all seen pictures Sue has shared with us, and the state archaeologist reached out to us. It's a kind of a big issue for the property because it is the Abenaki burial grounds that's about to fall into the river. It's a big concern, so they reached out to NRCS. They're trying to see if they'll help them with a design, and they're looking for any sort of funding opportunity. So I connected him with Water Quality that might be able to help with a grant, but he did ask if the town would be willing to sponsor a road grant if there was a source that they could find one. I don't know of any at the moment,
Well, I
but
mean, it's completely out of our right of way and not, right? I mean, it really doesn't have much to do with the town.
well, it's out of the right of way, I would agree, but I would also say it's not far from your right of way, and if that piece goes, your road is in jeopardy.
No, I went down and looked at it.
So, I mean, it doesn't look like your road would be in good shape if that piece went. So I guess that's the,
Who's looking for the funding?
the archaeologist was here, so he's with Historic Preservation. It's all state designated area in there for the
State's got more
Abenaki
money
Council.
than we got.
Yeah, it didn't seem that way.
Well, of course
Anyway.
not.
So, and we reached out to Swanton Village also to see if they could think of anything, but,
Wonder if there's any federal grants available.
well, we
Or
connected them
historic.
to Department of Public Safety to see if they could find a FEMA grant that might
Right.
help. But they're not sure they can link it to the flooding, if it was,
Oh, I think it had a lot to do with flooding personally.
I think it's,
Sorry, but-
yeah, I would agree, but I guess there was a deadline, like a 30-day, so he was gonna see
Oh.
if there could be an exception, because, we were under ice 30 days after the flooding, so, I don't know, I just wanted you to know, they're considering it a big deal, and they really would like any kind of help that the town could give them, so.
Well, I guess, it's a matter of finding out whether the town or they have any funding options.
Did they find out whose property it was?
Pardon?
Did they find out whose property it was? There was a discussion of whose it was, if it was the state's, Sue's neighbor, or?
It's, the way it's divided up, it's really strange because some of it belongs to my neighbor, some belongs to the state, and then there's another piece that belongs to Claudine and Pierre DeLons.
Yes.
I mean, it's really a mess down there. My main
Wonder if,
concern is, it's 20 feet from the road, it is breaking up. I noticed it again today, I go over it every day just to check on it. It is breaking up more, that's my concern. I have the bus that goes down there every day, twice a day. That's and I thank Pat for roping it yesterday, just to let people know, do not park there, it is not safe.
What about that Jeff Bonet? He was big into getting money for the Abenakis. Maybe he has
Eugene Rich
some
was supposed to be talking
connections.
to him, I've had, Pat and Josh has been down there, the state was down there today. Also, Eugene Rich has been down there twice to check on it. I've had the village cop down there checking on it. So there's been a lot of people down there checking it, because people just can't believe the way it just gave up from 11 o'clock, between 10 and 11 to Sunday morning. That's when my neighbor found it. Within 48 hours, it just broke.
You gotta love Mother Nature.
I love Mother Nature.
She's gonna do what she wants.
She will.
I will.
Okay,
That's it for me.
all right, any other questions for Pat? Okay, thank you very much.
It says it's state of Vermont. It's that section right there.
He's saying our maps aren't correct, and he's gonna talk to the listers about it.
Okay, on that note, moving right along, Shelley.
Hello. I'm just gonna stare at your hair, I can mess that. It's only half the days.
Okay,
Boring check run.
did anyone have any questions about the check warrants?
No.
And, Sullivan and Powers will start the fixed asset inventory June 15th. So that will be underway in the next month.
How long did they expect that to last?
We have the following, that's the Friday, and we have that Friday and the following week penciled in for Jordan to be here. I'm not sure if it's gonna take the whole week.
Right.
I think he also will do some, prior to the year-end close, go through and see if there's anything major that sticks out that needs to be corrected before we close the year with the audit.
And And budgets are looking pretty good.
I was checking the balances this week, mainly, today. We are in good shape. With just about a month to go. I will give you a much more detailed update next meeting.
All right, if there's no other questions for Shelley, we'll move right along. Okay, Wendy,
Hi.
hi.
We have minutes from May 3rd.
Does everyone have a chance to look at the minutes? Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Like that.
See ya.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You said bye.
He said
Pat.
bye.
Bye, Pat.
Oh, okay, so I do need a second then.
Second that?
I can't second it.
Okay, I'll second that.
All right. So all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh my goodness. All right, just a couple other quick things. Memorial Day is next weekend.
I know.
So
So I have a
Start of
couple
summer.
flyers here, Jerry, can you zoom in? The fire department is looking for items for their auction, and they will be here at the station, the next 2 weekends. And you can always call the office line 868-7722 to have something picked up.
What's the last four numbers?
7722. And the barbecue starts at 11 on May 28th. $10 a person. Chicken, I'm reading this backwards, coleslaw, roll, pickle, baked potato, and milk.
Yum.
Followed by the parade.
Yes, the parade at 1 o'clock.
And I'm getting calls. Who should people contact if they want to walk in the parade, Sharon?
That would be me.
I thought so.
Oh, yes.
So you're the parade
people?
marshal?
I'm the you stand here. But yes, we are happy to have one and all come to join our parade. It should be a nice parade, hopefully, and there
pray for nice weather.
might even be a flyover. The VFW in Swanton has requested a flyover from our
National.
yes.
Air National.
So they requested it for Franklin, Highgate, and Swanton. So hopefully we will see that as well.
They used to do it all the time.
They did.
Who's coming in?
The
No,
Vermont
just that
National
you were
Guard.
talking, yeah, right, okay.
And for those of you who are interested, the bridge in Swanton will be dedicated to the Vietnam veterans after Swanton's parade. So that is another little ceremony that'll be taking place in the area. But yes, anyone who's interested in being a part of the parade,
What time are you lining up? 12:30?
well, yeah, 12:15 I'd like to start. 12:30 if you have lots of little ones.
Yeah.
How should they get a hold of you?
You can get a hold of me by my email, which is sbosket@highgatebt.org, or you can call me at home, which is 868-3173. You just leave a message and a callback number, please.
So you want the Little Leaguers there at 12:30?
Yeah.
Okay.
She wants each little
Yes.
leaguer to call her at home.
Sounds like
Yeah,
she's talking
everyone.
directly to you.
I'll blast that number out to everyone.
Yeah,
Yes.
put that right up there.
No, we would be delighted to have the
Don't mean to
children.
answer it.
I have to thank Wendy very much for arranging some of the things for me, and Keith Plouffe and Richard Flint and Ty and Tom Connolly are all on the Memorial Day committee, so we all have our jobs and things are going well.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, very much so.
I get this question every year, so I'll just say it
Yeah, yeah.
publicly. Candy, those that are marching will supply their own.
Yes, we ask that if you are going to have candy in the parade to throw to the crowd, that if you can't throw off the pavement, either walk over to the child or don't throw it, because we don't want children to enter the roadway as the parade's going by. That's our only stipulation. So, to keep everyone nice and safe and have a good
Shriners on the
time.
go-karts, gotta be careful then.
I have requested the Shriners and they should be coming.
Sweet.
So,
Did the elementary school music teacher contact you?
yes.
Perfect. We got the
Yes.
numbers. I got the pizza.
Okay. But she doesn't think her children will be eating.
Is Roger walking through?
We are?
Yeah.
Yep.
We don't have candy.
Oh, well, I know what I'm voting for.
Actually, some of the parades don't allow you to throw candy anymore.
Yeah.
It's St. Albans, you have to hand it.
Yes.
It's safer.
Right.
It's safer.
It can be a safety issue.
Yeah.
A little kid
Absolutely.
really
Well,
get taken
tractors.
out there for a piece of candy.
Take tractors, horses.
The baseball kids.
Yeah.
But, and then we, after the parade, there'll be a short ceremony at the memorial here in the little park. And we are also going to continue with the pie eating contest, both as a children's event and as an adult event. So
Come
we
on,
are
Steve.
looking for volunteers.
Steve
Bruce,
just
there
raised
you
his
go.
hand.
No copping out like last time, you little wussy.
You did a good job with that, Sharon.
So, Roger, good way
We're in.
to talk up candidacy.
That's what she's talking about.
Oh yeah, oh you're in.
You're a man of your word.
I come from a family of 9, I could eat pie.
It's not a problem.
Sharon.
For me, it was a good diet plan because I will not eat chocolate pie anymore.
There must be someone part of your campaign that you can make.
Yeah.
Timmy, get Timmy to do it.
How about the park and, now that we've got the sidewalks, have we got a comment to make on that for the way they park, usually in the front of the park?
Yeah, we're
We
going to have
commenting on
to.
that?
We're going to have to try to keep the integrity of the sidewalk as best we can. I do understand that some older people do
That's right.
park there. We'll have to see what we can make
Well,
for
that
an
soil's
allowance.
pretty soft. Is the
Yeah,
But I
my thing.
wonder if we should ribbon it off.
Yeah.
If anybody is in search of parking, and there's always the St. Louis Church on the Lincoln Street, the sidewalk goes right there.
We have a
And-
beautiful
and we-
park and ride
And
too.
we also have maybe the Macy property right there in
Yeah.
front of that. I don't see why we
That's
couldn't
not a
park in
bad
here. That's
idea
a
at
great
all.
spot.
Yeah.
The
It's
school
really
parking
clean
lot
there,
as well.
open. We just make sure maybe we can get it mowed up, tighten it up a little bit. That'd be a
Good
great
idea.
spot.
That lot's
good.
big.
It is, it does, the town owns
Perfect
it.
view.
Beautiful view.
First Memorial Day without the
Yeah.
fence.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I would suggest that.
So yes, so hopefully it'll be, like you said, beautiful weather, and everybody will have a good time. The barbecue is always a hit. Auction always goes well. So,
Okay,
all right.
I just have another couple quick things. Reminder, we have our special town meeting before our next select board meeting, June 7th at 6 o'clock. This was warned the day after the last meeting to meet the criteria of 30 days. So this will be a floor vote. And so I'm sure people will call me asking to mail them a ballot. There are no ballots. You have to be here to vote. And it reads, shall the voters of the town of Highgate authorize $30,000 of anticipated surplus from the Bridge 25 Reserve Fund to be used for the municipal complex roof replacement. So that's what we'll be voting on June 7th at 6 o'clock. I have one last liquor license for you guys to approve. It is for Mighty Fine.
Okay, so I make a motion that we exit our regular select board meeting and enter into the liquor control board.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. So I would make a motion that we sign the Mighty Fines liquor license.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Please sign under the approved.
The place is for sale, huh?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Who made the motion?
Sharon
Sign
made the
it.
motion.
I made the motion. Who seconded?
Me.
Thank you.
Okay.
One more thing while you're signing that, do you wanna come out of the liquor control board, or did you already?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
You asked me to post that we were looking for a seventh
Yes.
person for the Parks and Recreation Commission.
Yes.
I posted it, not surprisingly, we got no takers, so we were asked to post it so everybody would have a fair shot, and nobody came forward, so
Okay.
we're still looking for that seventh person.
Due diligence.
So the seventh
I
commissioner for the Recreation Commission.
Okay, so we did our due diligence. I'm quite happy with 6 members of that board. Any thoughts, discussions?
It should be an odd number.
Yeah,
That's
how would
my
they
only
handle a
thought as
tie?
well.
Right. But if
Not
you don't
a
have
tie
any
swung, how would
takers,
they handle a tie?
Well, that's including the chair, right?
Correct.
So the chair wouldn't vote, and then you have a.
Yeah, one would have to, which would be fine.
Positions open,
Keep it open,
somebody someday maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know when or where, but
okay.
Alright, that's it for me.
All right, Heidi.
Well, for me, I'll just catch you up on some projects. There's a narrative in your packet, and that was the grant we mentioned at the last meeting. We applied for $20,000 for a pavilion for the Highgate Falls Park. And the match would be our in-kind volunteer commission, steering committee, and my hours. So that went in, and we should hear sometime in June. Just wanted to quickly mention that the school is doing another walk to school day in the morning, Friday morning, the 18th. So anybody that wants to walk along with the kids is invited to join them. And the planning commission met at the last, earlier this week, actually, and they talked about what had been accomplished so far by the sidewalk committee and what the next steps would be. And they wanted to do a walkabout at their next meeting, and they asked for the select board if you are able to join them. So that would be June 19th.
June 19th.
June 19th at 6 o'clock. They're gonna cruise around town and see where weak spots are. We're suspecting we could do better on the Gore Road
What's that day?
crosswalk. It's a Tuesday.
Tuesday?
And they're going to invite the residents of the village area, anyone that wants to join them, so, and anybody from the town can join in. Just looking for things that we can do to make walking easier for people, and,
Where are they meeting here?
yeah, yep, let's just say that. We hadn't decided, but that sounds good. Start here and everybody can walk at the same time. So, one other project that's been percolating for a long time is the land sale, municipal land sale. So we finally have some information back from the attorney, and we have the notice of intent that has to be published in the paper. And the date for these is set, it's June 28th.
28th
Thank
at
you.
11 a.m.
Okay, it's right in here.
Yes, right here.
So this will be the 2 properties that you approved at town meeting as well as the Elwood property.
So that's,
Ed's gonna do it
yes.
here.
The towns,
Usually Brian Monahan handles the tax sales, another attorney from the same office.
yeah, this,
Both of them or just him?
no, I think, Ed's
Ed's
gonna
doing
do
this
this one, yeah. So that's June 28th at 11 a.m. here. The town's attorney will be taking bids on the 3 pieces of property. There are minimum bids set, and all successful bidders must pay at least 10% of the final bid to the town of Highgate at the end of the sale. So cash, money order, certified check, or a cashier's check are the only forms of payment accepted. All sales are final. These are not tax sale properties, so the owner does not have the ability to go back in a year and rebuy the property. These are out and out sales.
So these are
This is,
Dalcourt.
yep, we have the Dalcourt property, which is 4.2 acres on Route 78. We have the Cherry Hill Road property, which is 11.4 acres on the railroad. And then we have the Elwood property that is located on Lampkin Street.
He did ask me to just verify that those were the starting bids that you had asked for. 18,000 for Cherry Hill, 15,000 for Dalcourt.
Yes.
And the Elwood was already set in the court order,
Yes.
which I think was 10,000.
Yes.
Okay. So that's it. So that will be going forward. Finally. Just an update on the ADA construction. The delay has been getting through the environmental review, which is a part of the grant process. That's a mandatory. So they came, they did the phase 1, which was evaluating the building. They did notice the 2 drains. So he's coming back on June 22nd with Drumick. They have to scope and make sure there's no leaks. And then they have to do soil borings to make sure that there's no contamination.
So we just had those scoped already.
Yes.
They wouldn't take that as a,
No, he has to be here, but I think that it should be an easier process knowing that that has happened. So,
Is that at the town cost?
it's all a part of
Part of
the
the-
grant. It'll be our, part of our match.
So yes, it is.
Yeah.
Are they coming May 22nd or June 22nd?
See you, Ty.
May 22nd, thank you.
You said June the first time.
Sorry.
It's next week, right?
Next week,
Okay.
next Tuesday. Yeah, they're coming in June to do the drilling. Tomorrow they come to do the scoping.
Okay.
So I think that is it for me, other than I just put that email in there about the crosswalk painting.
yes.
They're trying to figure out what to do next.
I think I saw an email or something about painting on Lampkin Street too, painting that one, borrowing a painter from a machine from Swanton to paint that ourselves.
Yeah, Betsy said that Swanton Village has offered their painter, and they repaint theirs at least once a year.
Right, but if that one's already wore off too, wouldn't that be covered under the same project to get these other 2 painted
The-
as well, or?
Apparently those were done with different paint. We paid a premium for Gore Road and
So
Route 78.
we expect that one over there to wear off every
We
year.
don't expect those to have,
But the
the
one on Lampkin
longevity.
Street, we're expecting that one, that's a maintenance item, basically.
yeah, yeah,
But the other
those
2
are
should last.
in your normal realm of, because they have lower traffic rates.
Yep.
But they lasted longer than the premium ones.
They did,
Right, yeah.
yeah. So if we pay for the paint, they loan us the machine, no problem. More of that reciprocal agreement we have with them.
Yeah.
Need your stencils.
Passive grants are out.
Yes, well, thank you. So that is, the grant for the insurance company for anything that will reduce a loss. So, those are due in August, but we're getting that together. So, I haven't heard back from them that they would accept the steam cleaner, but, Pat said he spoke to a gentleman at a workshop and he thought it was a good fit. So we would like to submit for that as well as for the camera system for this office. And there were 2 different bids.
Camera system's a good one.
Yeah, I can't believe there hasn't been one.
So we were gonna go for the lesser one. The grant will give us up to 5,000 with a 50% match, so. And we did set that match money aside when we were planning, so.
All right. Anything else?
Not for me.
Okay. So, on select board items, we have an application for a coal, which is basically a salvage yard application. I would request that we not address that at this time and gather more information.
Sounds good to me.
So, I would table that until our next meeting.
When does it due?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's due now, but I have spoken with them and I've spoken with the state, so there's just a few things that need to be rectified.
Compliance hasn't been better, right?
They did put up a fence between the 2 properties, that was nice. They did clean up around, or along 78 there. So yes, it has been better than we have seen previously. But, okay, so I make a motion to table it.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. And I have 2 things for executive. So I would make a motion to end the general session and enter into executive session with Heidi Bridge Valenta.
So, second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you very much for coming.